Make it. So glad you guys are here. My name is Terry Maxwell. By the way, these events are part of how we serve the broader conscious community. I'll talk a little bit more about that, and I'm going to be sharing some very important research and some things that will help make this journey a little bit easier. But you're welcome to attend any of our events. Authentic Marketing is coming up end of this month, and then every quarter we run something called the 10K Challenge. For any business that's not above 10K, they can take the 10K challenge, and we help them move through that. So getting above 10K, if your business is not there, it's a very important milestone. It's harder than it looks. And if you have already broken that, but maybe you slid back, there's a reason for that. So 10K challenge might be for you as well. So that is on September 11th. My background, I had a corporate career, and then I was president of an internet company. We did an IPO in 1999. Then the dot-com bubble burst. I started another company and grew it, and then sold it in early 2008, which ended up being really good timing. I started a purposeful portfolio, and this word purpose is going to matter because it fits into this roadmap. It's kind of like a purposeful Shark Tank. It's called Share on Purpose, and we invest in purposeful ideas. This is an example of the first zero waste makeup line. We're an investor in that. Then we also create our own companies as well. We have 5 of those. Shifco is number 5. So that's my background. I've dedicated my life to helping purposeful and conscious or an intentional founder grow their impact in the world. Everything that I do in my life is dedicated to that, which leads me to this topic. When we originally Chipco, we were using the term conscious entrepreneur, and resident now saying the word intentional entrepreneur. And when we say intentional, mean by that is that you're doing things for a reason. So if I'm growing my business, my intention is not just to make more money. My intention is to grow my impact. If I make a change in my business, my intention is to make the business more impactful. So you guys have been invited to this both to hear some of what we've learned in the last 4 years that might make your world a little bit easier. And then also in return, we're going to be sending you a list of names and some words that we're going to want your feedback on. So this idea of being conscious or being intentional started from some research that I've been following now for several years. So this is from Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. It studies global entrepreneurs. And one of the things they study gender, they study race, they study age. But one of the things they started studying about 8 years ago was really, what's your intention for your business? And the blue line that you see in each of the countries says, hey, I'm more interested in making a difference in the world. The orange line is, I want to build great wealth or high income. So interestingly enough, what has shown up for the last 3 years in a row, 2021, 2022, 2023, the study always comes out the year after. Almost 50% of US and Canada founders said they started their business to make a difference in the world. And we've never seen it be that high. Many other countries are close to that. So you can see even in places like Guatemala and Brazil and Venezuela and Mexico, those blue lines are high. And we've just never seen that. And I've been following their research for over 8 years. We've never seen it be this high. And I kind of think of it as a bit of a tipping point, that I feel like we're on this verge of really doing business differently, which is the awakening that I had 14 years ago. I wanted to do business differently. And so this idea of what is an intentional entrepreneur, from our research, you care about 4 things. One is you want to make an impact. You want to make a bigger impact in the world, whether the world is the city you live in, whether the world is a segment, a community that you serve, or if the world means the world. You want to make a bigger impact. You think you can do things in a way that is going to be more fruitful. Second is purposeful. The purposeful is I'm supposed to be doing this work. I feel it feels kind of like a mission. It's something I know I need to do, and I know I felt that for 14 years that this I need to do these things. Personal evolution, you're committed to lifelong learning, and then the fourth is profitable growth. The challenge is sometimes these things are in conflict, which is a big part of what we're going to be talking about today. So, what intentional entrepreneurs, they care about these four things. And they don't like forego purpose for profit, but sometimes those things are in conflict. So, this roadmap starts with first understanding why it can be so difficult, why it can feel hard when you do care about all four of those things. So it isn't your imagination. It does feel hard. First of all, building a business is hard. I've been an entrepreneur for about 25 years, multiple businesses, multiple exits. It's not easy. But this idea of trying to do business in a different way, there's a level of hardness to that. And the why behind it is we are balancing values, purpose, and mission with the need to earn money. And those things can be in conflict. For example, there was a period in early in Shifco's life where I had to give up for about 18 months, not making any money, period, zero, as we were building Shifco, because I wanted to grow it slower so that we could make a bigger impact. That was a tough decision to make because I have a lot of money invested in Shifco. And so that was a trade-off. In other cases, I'm going to forego something not being perfect because I'm ready to grow the business. So sometimes these things are in conflict and they have to be balanced. The other thing that we found is who we become, your business grows as you evolve, is a big part of what drives the business forward. And you can't forget that the business is an extension of the mission and the purpose and the intentions that you're putting out there. It is going to change you. It is going to call you to higher ground. It is going to challenge you to face your fears. It is going to require that you do things you're not comfortable with, whether it's demand generation or marketing. So the business grows as we evolve. I had to face that as a conscious entrepreneur. And I want to really put a pin in this. When I built my previous companies prior to this purposeful awakening or this intentional awakening, the mantra was fake it till you make it. We've all heard that. Fake it till you make it. And when I was president of the internet company, I faked it until we made it. When I was CEO of a growth strategy firm that was very successful, I faked it until I made it. It's really hard to do that as a conscious entrepreneur because authenticity is in every thread. So the who we become is part of sometimes why I think it's challenging. So the roadmap starts first with recognizing where you are and being honest about where you are in that, and being very intentional about identifying where to focus. And what I'm going to help you to do today with the roadmap is I'm going to give you a list of things that you'll need to focus on. And then you're going to pick which ones of those things do I feel like I've got, and which ones of those things do I think I need a little more help with. And then from there, once you know where to focus, you can really identify, well, what do I need to learn in order to do that? Being an entrepreneur is a full-time, lifelong education. It's not like you can take one program or one class and boom, you've got it. And if you're looking for the quick, easy fix, you're going to be looking for a very long time. So it's a constant journey of analyzing where you are, identifying where you want to focus, identifying based on that focus what you need to learn, and then you increase your impact. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And the success formula for this starts first with recognizing personal evolution goes with the package, that you will be evolving. You're going to be working on confidence, speaking skills, getting more comfortable with numbers, being more comfortable with networking or podcasting, whatever your way is to grow brand awareness, learning how to sell yourself in a way that feels authentic to you. Those are all things that are going to cause you to need to step into that bigger vision and idea of yourself. And then the other parts are first purpose. Purpose is a verb. So I'm going to be talking about it very differently than the way you might think. I'm going to be talking about it on how you activate your purpose. Second is the value, and learning to speak about the value you provide rather than what you do. Most of the time when we introduce ourselves, we talk about what we do and we talk about who we are. But value is really learning about how to speak about the value you provide. And then lastly is the mechanics of actually growing your business. And I do see that as mechanics. So I'm going to walk you through all four of these: personal evolution, purpose, value, and growth initiatives. What you're going to be doing, hopefully, is identifying which of these do you feel like you're doing pretty well at, and which of these do you feel like you need to do some work on. And then I'm going to be pointing you to some resources to help you do that work. All right, let's start first with purpose. So the purpose, when we think of purpose, we all have heard probably Simon Sinek's, start with why. That is absolutely a part of it. But the piece that gets lost is the activation of purpose. So purpose is certainly, why are you building your business? For example, my purpose is to inspire potential. So what that means is I was born to inspire potential. And how I'm activating that is I'm inspiring your potential right now. I'm going to be calling you up to that bigger stage and encouraging you to reach for bigger dreams. That is the why. However, purpose is a verb. So what action are you taking on that purpose? If you know your purpose, or you can, have words for it, that's great. But what are the actions that you're taking? And I believe we're born to fulfill a purpose. This is something I learned from Ian Van Zandt and Oprah, that purpose is something you just can't not do. Like, I've been drawn to this my whole life. And if you really look at my career, my whole career has been around this inspiring potential. So whether you have the words for it or not, something's tugging at us. Something is calling us like, go this way. We don't always follow it. But when we do, it's a beautiful thing. Purposeful work increases resiliency and dedication. So what I found as an investor is a very, very important point. As an investor, when I first started investing in businesses, I invested in 14 concepts between 2008 and 2011. The vast majority of those failed. And the reason why they failed is what I was investing in, the founder had an idea. They didn't have a calling. They didn't have purpose behind it. The ones that were successful, i.e., things like the zero waste makeup line, the founder knew that they were supposed to be doing this work. So there's a level of fulfillment that you get when you're doing something purposeful that is undeniably powerful. Now, to make it actionable, because purpose is a verb, it can't just be the loftier why. It's got to have some action to it. And the way that I found to activate purpose is to measure it. I believe it can and should be measured. And the beautiful thing is, when you measure your purpose, that is how you increase your impact. I'm going to give you an example of that for Shifco in a minute. But if your purpose is to, Amy, I'll use House of Hire, you want to help brands that care about their brand reputation hire and activate and engage and retain great talent. Well, how are you going to measure that? How are you going to measure whether or not you're fulfilling that purpose, filling those intention? So when we measure our purpose and we respond, we increase the value to our customers. And we've lived this in Shifco. So I'll give you an example of what that means. Our purpose at Shifco is to support the development of conscious entrepreneurs and building socially and environmentally friendly businesses. That's why we exist. In 2021, when I started to measure our purpose, one of the metrics we used is how many of our members had doubled their revenue. We had been up for a year. Where were we? and the number was only 53.4%. I wasn't very proud of that number. I was proud of the fact that we're one of the few business growth platforms and communities that measure their results, but I wasn't proud of that number. We changed some things, and a year later, so on our 2-year anniversary, it had jumped to 77%. A lot of the research that I'm going to be sharing with you today came from what we learned between that dramatic increase. And then right now we're on our 4-year anniversary, and it's up to 84.9%. So what that is how I activate ShiftCo's purpose is by measuring our impact and measuring whether or not that purpose is creating value for our customers and stakeholders. And then the activation is modifying what you're doing so that you get different results. So we use this, what we call member success ratio, to determine the resources our members need to grow their business. And we're always adding new things because I want that number to eventually be 100%. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but that's what I want. We're always adding new things. We're always activating our purpose so that we can fulfill that more lofty why. Remember, the why is ShiftCo's purpose is to support the development of conscious entrepreneurs and building successful businesses, but the activation has to be in what I do. So purpose is a verb, and that's not always understood. And you have to evaluate what you're doing on a regular basis so that you can make changes. So hopefully you will be thinking about purpose and measuring purpose. What I've also learned, when you combine measuring and activating your purpose with the desire to be better, and that's the personal evolution, you get to one of the most powerful aspects of building a successful business, and that is understanding the value that you provide. So what is value? Value is the benefits of what you're providing to whomever you're selling them to. So what that means is, what are the benefits that you provide to your target market? You should be talking about that, right? When I introduce myself, I want to introduce myself as, the value I provide is I help purposeful and intentional founders grow their business. That's the benefit. I don't talk about what I do. I talk about the benefit of it. And this is a really important distinction, because most of us have been trained on those 30-second elevator pitches, which is really about what we do, not about the benefit that we actually provide. And then value, the perception of value is what are the benefits divided by the cost. So to do that, to figure that out, first you have to know who and where your target market is. Second, you have to know their problem. For those of you that have taken the differentiation pathway, you know this. It's not easy. It's not easy to do, but it is actually very simple to identify what someone's problem is. You got to know their problem. And then the next part is you have to not talk about what you do, but you have to talk about how you solve that problem. What are the benefits that your target market will respond to and pay for? So, Amy, in your case, I'm CEO of House of Hire, and I help companies attract, engage, retain, and whatever else, their best people, like something like that. Like, that's a way to introduce yourself. So you're speaking about the value, and hopefully all of you will listen to this section and really think about, when you introduce yourself, how can I speak more about the value I provide rather than what I do? And here's the beautiful thing, a high value equation. So when your value is really high, which means the benefits are amazing for the cost, the business grows organically. And one of the hallmarks of conscious businesses is they have a high referral rate. That means they get a lot of their business from referrals. That's something you can measure. What percent of the new business comes from referrals? If they have an ongoing service, what percent of your business is retaining your customers? Those are things that you can measure. And so in addition to measuring purpose, you can also measure value. And that ratio of benefits compared to cost causes your business to grow. Now, from our research, why value matters in conscious business is we want to use our business as a force for good. We want to make a bigger impact. We're driven to use our business to make the world better. We want the business to be a vehicle to solve important problems. None of these reasons, unfortunately, cause someone to buy from us. And the real opportunity is to let your purpose be your purpose, but learn how to speak about the value you provide, because that's what's going to cause someone to buy from you. It's not going to be your experience, it's not going to be your title, it's not going to be your brand, it's not going to be what you do on a daily basis. What's going to cause somebody to want to have a conversation with you is when they say, wow, the value that you provide matches the problem that I have. And that's how the powerful aspect of it works. So again, when you combine personal evolution with purpose, with learning how to articulate the value, now we're going to focus on mechanisms for growth. Now, this last piece, there's a lot in here. So you'll probably want to listen to this section again, because growing your business is tricky. It's not just having ClickFunnels and lead magnets. It's not just taking somebody's class and boom, you've got it. There's a fulcrum that has to be managed. And I'm going to talk a lot about that. And the business must grow to increase your impact. So what does that mean? It means I need to increase my revenue to increase my impact. But it also means I need to improve the scalability of the business to increase my impact and grow the business. We also have to find ways to reduce the time that we're working in the business versus on the business, so that we get sucked into the business, we get sucked into doing the work, and we have to find ways to understand how to do that. I'm going to give you some strategies for both increasing the revenue and also improving the scalability of the business. I'm going to give them right here today. So to understand this scale, you have to think of an analogy of a rock climber. So when a rock climber climbs a rock, this is a great picture, you'll notice that his right foot is higher than his left, and his right hand is higher than the left. And that scaling that happens right, left, is how a rock climber climbs a rock. Ironically, it's the exact same thing with growing your business. And so when something feels hard, my philosophy is I'm going to step back and I'm going to look for a simple step. What's one step that I can take? And building a business, by the way, always feels hard, even when it's purposeful. But it can be simple if you follow a couple of these techniques that I'm going to give you. So the first thing is that right, left, to make your business as simple as possible, what I call business simple. There are really only two things you have to focus on: supply and demand. And the trick is that purple line that you see them is like the line in a seesaw. And the line, that center point in a seesaw, is called a fulcrum. And the fulcrum is the toughest metal on that seesaw, and it balances the weight on each side of that seesaw. So the fulcrum, that purple bar right there in your business, is the pressure point between two opposing forces: supply and demand. Demand is how many new clients do you have? What's your business revenue? That's called demand. And supply is how are you servicing that revenue? So I can get some new clients, but if I don't have the right resources to serve them, I'm back to zero again, right? And I've had that happen in multiple businesses where I grow. Oh my gosh, I don't have enough time capacity or resource capacity. I'm going to go very specific here in a minute with these capacity points and give you techniques on how to address them. Well, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose that business, or I'm going to keep that business, but then I don't have time to get more business. And so then my seesaw is out of whack. Conversely, if you're focused just on supplying the services and working all those hours, then you don't have the time to go get more business. So this is a tricky part. There are actually three fulcrums in a business. The first one happens when you're under 10K a month. And I call this one the time fulcrum. And the time fulcrum is we get stuck in the get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work. And so your revenue line would look like this purple line. Woo, yay, it's great. Oh, wow. I've been so busy with this client, I didn't have time to get new clients. Oh, wow, boom. And I would love to tell you that there's a magical way to get through this. There's not. Every one of my businesses, even as well as I know how to do this, every one of my businesses goes through this same phase when the business is under 10K a month. That's why we do the 10K challenge. The second one is called the resource fulcrum. The resource fulcrum shows up between 10 to 30K a month. I believe this is the most difficult phase. Statistics show that the majority of founders quit their business in this phase, ironically, not the previous one. You'd think it'd be here. Most people quit here because it's tough. And now, so this represents the revenue line. These little loops, they feel like Groundhog Day. Oh, yeah, it's working. No, it's not. Oh, yeah, it's working. No, it's not. Oh, yeah, it's working. No, it's not. Oh, yeah, it's working. Oh, wow. No, it's not. I'm tired. Oh, wow, this is too tough. So this particular fulcrum is really tricky. And it's one of the things I feel like I'm really good at helping people navigate. And I'm going to put all three together here in a minute. And then the third fulcrum is a leadership fulcrum. The leadership fulcrum shows up when your business is above 30K because it tends to, the founder alone can't be leading the business. There's got to be another team member somewhere in the business. And so this one, it kind of feels like climbing stairs. There's going to be dips, but typically they're minor and short-lived. It's still hard. It's just not as hard as the second one. So let me remind you of these pieces. And then remember, there's three of these fulcrums. The first fulcrum is called the time fulcrum, where there's not enough time. The second, and that one looks like this here. The second fulcrum is called the resource fulcrum. There's not enough resources being time, money, people, clients. Like there's just not enough. I call it the not enough phase. Very, very challenging. And then the third phase is a leadership fulcrum. And this one tends to show up when you get right above 30K. So what these fulcrums mean is the balance of supply and demand is difficult. Once your business is scaling, meaning well above 30K, typically somewhere between 50, 60, 70K a month. Once it's doing that, the business becomes a lot easier to manage because you've worked through some of these pressure points. So that means I need a strategy to grow the business. I'm going to give you some strategies to help you with that in a minute. But I also need strategies for servicing the revenue. You need both of those. And the way that you handle those strategies, we call it 5P. So this is on the servicing side. One is maybe you need to simplify your product offering. Maybe you need to stop doing some of the things that you said you were going to do that now you don't enjoy. So that's one way that you can make the scale easier. People and resources, maybe you can add a virtual assistant or office manager or somebody to take social media off your plate. Wow, that sounds easy, but it's hard to do. If you've ever done it, it's hard to do. So you need a strategy for that. Pricing and profits. What we find in almost every one of our members is there's a pricing and profit issue somewhere. And we got to sort that out because the business won't scale unless we do. And then you've got process tools and technology, sometimes overlooked. They're one of the best ways to make your business more scalable. And then last is partnerships. A lot of times, rather than having some of the services, you can partner with somebody that has the services. So these 5Ps are the way that you would handle the supply side. These are strategies that you would deploy in the business to make it more scalable so that you can move through those three fulcrums. Then you work on the demand gen side. Now, before I give you strategies for the demand gen side, I just want to reiterate, this is not a straight line, and we want it to be a straight line. It's not. So what that means is I start the business or I start growing the business. I run into the first fulcrum. You know what? I need to add a virtual assistant to help me. Okay, that virtual assistant didn't work. Now I got to add another one. Okay, finally I got somebody that works. Great. Now I got to shift back over and I got to grow on the demand side again. Oh, now too much business again. Okay. You know what I need to do? I need to simplify my product offering. So these 5 Ps are not one and done. And that's the tricky part is you're going to address all 5 of these in those 3 fulcrums. At some point, you're going to touch on all 5 of these as you're growing the business. And it is, work on scalability on the supply side. Okay, it's working. Go generate demand. Oh, wow. Now I've got supply issues. Go over here. Don't generate as much demand. Oh, back over to demand. So that seesaw effect, that rock climber effect, that's how you scale the business and grow it so that you can make a bigger impact. I'll talk just briefly on the demand gen side. Needless to say, that's one of the things we excel at. There's 4 aspects of increasing demand, which is increasing revenue and getting new clients. The first one is awareness. And I like to think of these in terms of relationships rather than a funnel or a lead magnet or anything like that. So, stage 1 of the relationship is you're aware that I exist. So, somebody told you about this event or you saw something about it, you clicked, you became aware. And it was interesting enough that you were like, you know what, I think I'll sign up for that. I'm curious about that. So you're what we call a follower. You're aware and interested. That doesn't mean you're going to buy. It just means you're aware and interested. And then the third is what we call a fan. A fan is somebody that shows up. You know, not everybody that registered. We had like 42 people register. We had 14 that showed up. Not everybody that registered showed up. That's part of the deal. And so the ones that showed up, they're like, wow, this is really cool. I think I want to check it out. And then, of course, the ones that act, so those are what we call fanatics. Here's the tricky part. 70% of your time must be spent on growing brand awareness, not selling, not working with leads. 70% of your time must be spent on growing awareness. Until your business is more than $1 million a year, 70% of your time will be spent growing awareness. That is what we underestimate. We want the leads to come. We want to, speak on that podcast and people buy. It doesn't work that way. 70% of your time is going to be spent growing awareness. 25% of your time is going to be working with people who are interested, following up on them, answering questions that they have, building a relationship with them. 5% of your time is working with people who want to buy from you. And we want to think it's the other way. We want to think that 70% of our time is spent with people that, want to buy from us. No, that's not how it works. 70% of your time is making sure that more people are aware that you exist. And that is the part that is tricky. So what you've got to do is you've got to look at your calendar. And other than servicing your clients and doing the administrative work, how much time are you dedicated to growing awareness? Now, I want to give you a little secret to that. I am an introvert. In spite of the fact that I speak all over the world, I'm an introvert. And what that means is I don't like networking. I'm not one of those people that has to attend networking events all the time. It wears me out. So guess what? I don't do networking. I mean, I might go to one event every quarter, but I don't go to networking. But I'm on podcasts. I'm speaking on webinars. I'm on, LinkedIn, following up with people. So I have found strategies that work for me to grow awareness that are things that I actually enjoy. So don't assume you have to network. Don't assume you have to speak. If you don't like to speak, don't speak. Just know that you need about 3 ways that you enjoy to grow awareness. It doesn't need to be 50, just 3 that you could do on a regular basis that you enjoy doing. And you just need to do them. And you have to recognize this imbalance that 70% of your time is going to be spent on growing awareness. Now, if the value is high, when people buy, then what will happen is customers will come back and they will refer new business. And that's what makes it easier. But until that happens, 70% of your time has to be spent on growing awareness. Last tip for you is how do you do that? This comes from some research. Several years ago, I was on an advisory board to help professional athletes become entrepreneurs. And they showed a study at my first advisory board meeting, and the study said that professional athletes are 3 times more successful as entrepreneurs than non-athletes. Collegiate athletes were 2 times more successful than non-athletes. I was fascinated by that. I was curious, how could that be? And I started thinking about it. And as a former athlete, athletes are taught to make moves, not be in motion. So emotion is when we're just doing stuff. I'm doing this thing, I'm doing that thing, but we're not really doing it intentionally. And that brings me back to this idea of being intentional. We're just doing stuff. A move is about intention. It's about going from point A to point B. And what athletes have trained their mind, their body, and their heart to do is to make moves. Athletes know they can't waste any energy. They have to be very specific, and they move the ball down the field. It's almost football season. I'm getting very excited about that. I'm a huge football fan. So you want to think about that, and you want to break those awareness building activities down in small moves. For example, every day on my calendar, I have time set aside to make a move to grow awareness of my business. It's on my calendar. It's like a meeting with the mayor of Irving, where I live. It's important. It's something that I do. I always do it. Even sometimes when I get jacked up for the day and I have to move it to another time, I don't go to bed until I've made my moves to grow awareness in my business. And it is critical that you do that. And by dedicating time each day to making just a couple of good moves every single day, day in and day out, what's going to happen is you're going to have enough awareness. Then you're going to have enough people interested in learning more about what you're doing. You're going to have enough new clients, and away you go. So I'll tie it all back together. One is the roadmap, the success formula is care about your own evolution. Your business grows as you evolve. Secondly, remember that purpose is a verb. It's not just the flowery why you're doing it. And measure your purpose. Know whether or not you're moving that ball down the field. That's what we mean by being an intentional entrepreneur. Next, third is value. Focus on the value you provide rather than what you do and who you are. That's the secret. Know what your clients' problems are, learn the benefits of what you do, and learn to speak about those benefits. The whole process will be way easier. And third, that recognize that growth is a combination of demand, which I just gave you the formula for that, but also managing the supply side of your business. And the business doesn't grow unless you manage both. So if you want to increase your impact, remember that combination, and your business grows as you evolve. Please let us know how we can support you. I will take a couple of questions here in a minute. Come to any of our events anytime. We'd love to have you. It's been an honor to serve you and share some of this research with you. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will hit the pause button and take any questions.